small hall, and afterwards, having been in conference and to a room, then pray, and we'll come to just follow. The man will speak, and I'll try and speak. This is a poem by Linda Ellis. It's called The Dash. The Dash is about Dad's life. It's wonderful that we have the picture behind us because we take great comfort in seeing them and just all the special times that we share together. And this poem just speaks to the life that we've had here. I read of a man who stood to speak at the funeral of a friend. He referred to the dates on the tombstone from the beginning to the end. He noted that first came the date of birth and spoke the following date with tears. But he said what mattered most of all was the dash between those years. For that dash represents all the time that they spent alive on earth. And now only those who love them know what that little line is worth. For it matters not how much we own, the cars, the house, the cash. What matters is how we live and love and how we spend our dash. So think about this long and hard. Are there things you'd like to change? For you never know how much time is left that can still be rearranged. If we could just slow down enough to consider what's true and real, and always try to understand the way other people feel. And be less quick to anger and show appreciation more and love the people in our lives like we've never loved before. If we treat each other with respect and more often wear a smile, remembering this special dash might only last a while. So when your eulogy is being read with your life's actions to rehash, would you be proud of the things they said about how you spent your dash?
A reading from Ecclesiasticus chapter 3, verses 1 through 9, through 8, sorry. There is a time for everything, a season for every activity under the sun, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to tear down and a time to build, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to scatter stones and a time to gather them, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to search and a time to give up, a time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to tear and a time to mend, a time to be silent and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time for war and a time for peace. me to share a few words about what we just heard and about our dear Richie. Continuing on from that really familiar few verses in Ecclesiastes, it's a little more mysterious to me. What do workers gain from their toil? I have seen the business that God has laid on the human race. He has made everything beautiful in its time. He has also set eternity in the human heart. Yet no one can fathom what God has done from the beginning to end. I know that there is nothing better for people than to be happy and to do good while they live. That each of them may eat and drink and find satisfaction in all their toil. This is the gift of God. If you're like me, the verses that Pat read are very familiar. They're in the old pop song. We know those verses. But those last verses are a little more mysterious. That somehow we would find satisfaction in our toil, our labor, our work, our effort, the things that we do. That's a gift from God. Toil is a gift. It doesn't always feel that way to me. But reflecting on Richie has helped me to see this in a little different light. My relationship with Richie was characterized by this. He always gave me more than I could ever give him. From my very first moments moving here, needing a welcome, I was met with countless meals and cups of tea around Ned and Richie's table. Many a time my doorbell would ring, only to find Richie standing outside with some flowers, or some food, or a tool, or something that he or Annette heard that we might need. Any passing mention of travel had Richie quickly offering to give us a lift to the airport, something I never got to return even one time for him. Any questions about DIY wouldn't just end with a helpful tip or hints, but with the loan of a tool and often the offer to help me do it. And when our little church group was finally able to meet again in person after lockdown ended, Richie volunteered to cook us all dinner and bring it over. He wouldn't even stay. It's just something he wanted to do for us. I didn't know what to say to Richie when he first fell. But he was patient and he let me pray over. Even in the moments I tried to give to Richie, he ended up giving me more in return. Now, Richie and I didn't share many deep moments talking about the meaning of life or anything like that. But Richie did treat me as if I had tremendous meaning to him. I think Richie was good at that. The look around their home, or maybe some of your homes, you quickly spot some of Richie's handiwork. Gifted with his hands, Richie could fix anything, but he could also build just about anything. And Richie could spot beauty and meaning inside a piece of wood. With patience and with skill, he could take something ordinary and transform it into something intricate and precise. A few extra passes with the file, another coat of varnish or two, maybe smoothing something down with a little more sandpaper. One more layer, one more touch. Because grand wasn't good enough for Richie when beautiful was possible. It had to be just right. Sometimes, mysteriously, it's the moments of taking away, moments of loss, that allows the beauty to shine through again.
to steady my nerves at this offer of prayer. Lord, may the words in my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable to you, my rock and my redeemer. Richie came from a family of 7 children, 4 sisters and 2 brothers, Richie being the youngest. Lived in the inner city until he lived in the inner city of Ireland till, as a young boy, he moved to Donecarney. And then he moved again in 1969 when we got married. And we put our roots down in Stockholm. Richie was a contented man. He liked his own company. I used to say he would survive on a desert island as long as he had a piece of timber and a sharp blade. Richie was not a planner. He just let life happen day by day. And he took life day by day. He delighted in his family. He loved football, so he delighted with Richard and Adam making a career in football and going to the States where they treated him so well. He delighted in Gordon because Gordon now is the new DIY man and he's getting plenty of practice already. I think he needs to move to America. And he delighted in his 2 daughters, Carrie and Miriam. As they chose caring professions, Miriam a nurse and Carrie a firefighter. Throughout Richie's life, he loved to see how things worked, and he was always taking things apart and challenging himself to how he would put it back and get it working again. Richie also loved his grandchildren, all 12 of them, not at the same time. He asked them when he'd see them how you're getting on, and especially their sport and their activities through sport. Richie didn't like organised religion, because he believed in a God that looked after us. And back in 2019, when he was diagnosed with cancer, we wondered, is this really happening? And how are we going to cope? But Richard's wife, Jodie, who is sad that she cannot be here with us, sent me this card. And I think this sums up how we have coped through Richie's tragedy of getting cancer, and also the tragedies we've had in the last couple of years through loss of family. And it says this: prayer changes things. It quietens us down and opens us up to that still, small voice inside. Prayer takes the desires of our hearts and lifts them to a loving, listening God. And before we even say amen, prayer graces us with a spirit of peace and blesses us with reassurance. That's what got us through. And we praise our wonderful God. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat and Craig. Try and get through a few stories. If you have any, you can join in. One of my memories as a kid was Dad's fascination with timepieces. clocks, pocket watches, and he would make phone calls to, you had to ring a line that would tell you what the exact time was, and he would set his watch to that time. Always wanted to be precise, but I was always fascinated by his love for this, because if he had to be here today, he would have been late. It's like for all of our weddings. But still, the precision of setting the clocks, and even this morning, they all chimed right on time, and now we all have iPhones to keep up with that. So that was a disappointment for me when something else, some other technology came along. But a real need for precision. And then you see the work in the clocks that he's made us all, and they hang in all of our homes. And that's just, it's such a lovely piece for us to take. And it means so much more than the clock does, because his story is in those clocks. He always made time for work. It was important to him to take care of his family. He was an apprentice butcher, and that's where he met Mam at Kearns' offices. He was a steel erector, and he worked on the Central Bank of Ireland. He worked with Dennis then for a number of years. And when it was difficult to find work, I'm old enough that I grew up in the time where we understood where the scarcity of work existed. So it was kind of a real hope that our dad would always be employed. And he got a job in Cadbury's in 1981. He worked for Cadbury's from 1981 to 2008. And Miriam pointed out, that's 27 years. And he never put on 1 pound. He took great pride in his jeans. They're all turkey, so none of us will fit in them now. But we got many at Cadbury Street. On Fridays, he would come home with their damaged chocolate that was sold really cheap. And that was our treat for school at the weekend. So we ended up a little chubbier than him. It was like Christmas every Friday. Dad was always easy to be around because he had a passion for sports and reading, TV, movies, music. He had an interest in everything. So it was very easy for everybody to connect with him. And he'd always ask you what you were watching, and you would take an interest in the show. He'd ask you what you were reading, and he just showed it was just very easy for all people to be with him, because he took an interest in what you were interested in. We've really enjoyed his love for music. We all have playlists now on Spotify, just the different songs. We can just picture him in the garage, working away, happily singing the singer-songwriter songs, and all of the ones that he liked were the classics, not the stuff that we listen to now. But really good. But I was disappointed when I went golfing with him and Terry one day, and all of Dad's music is classic, but when Terry picked us up, he had the cassette tape of the Spice Girls. And Terry pawned it off on someone else, but I think the two would have listened to that when they went to play. Dad retired in 2008, and I think he looked forward to that. He'd worked hard his whole life, but then he really got connected to his garage again. Up until then, it had been a labour of love for him, but he did it between working. And once he got in the garage at retirement, he took off. That's when he made, the girls reminded me yesterday, that's when they bought him the works for his clocks when he was 60 years old. And then it became an attempt to perfect each one. But the one that's in my house is apparently the best one. That would start a debate in our family. those of you that know him already like to debate. And that was always good conversation for us. He always made time for his family. It's in all of us now, and we're so grateful. A family holiday for us when we were kids was a day trip to Tal. No disrespect to Tal. And the trifle was delicious. But that was a family holiday. It was a trip over there on St. Stephen's Day and back. But somehow, we called it last night, there was some kind of a holiday boom in our family. Because as our family grew, the holidays just moved to Florida, different parts of America, Canada. We took them to see the Rocky Mountains. We all went on holidays to Spain and many trips around Ireland, as you see in the pictures. And that's been one of our greatest love. He probably paid for all those trips. He would never let us pay for anything. And so Mam's going to be broke now. And it was just a delight. It was a good company. But the fact that he valued that has been instilled in all of us. And there's some special times. I don't know any man that loves his sons and daughters-in-law as much as he does. And he loves them all the same way. From Nuala and Jody and the two lads and Destiny and Mark and Andy are like his own kids. And that's how you bring a family together. And Dad was just really good at that. When he was in the garage whittling away, he would work on projects like this. This is one that he would this is how he would occupy his time in the garage. And he would do Roy Keane's, which is local barber house. I think he did a John Wayne with someone. And around this time, he did one of Nuala. And I say that just because Nuala and Einstein in the same conversation, she would appreciate it. The two boys have been getting stuck into the garage. And they're starting to use that as tools. So they have this as inspiration, and the clocks as inspiration, but they thought they would whittle something out yesterday. And these were to go into the coffin, but people thought they were Kit Kat sized. So there's plenty of work for the boys. I've cried enough this week, and the girls had a good one that you grow up in Dublin in the 80s, and we had never seen Dad cry until I went to America. So that was 1989. And Jody said to me, it was basically a license for us to share our emotions. That's tough for us Irish. But it's been beautiful to laugh and to cry and to just share the joy that we've had with that. I had a phone call with my wife this morning, and she's back in the States, and it just made me think of one thing that it would have been difficult for me to talk today, but her strength was a lot for me. And I think Dad was the guy that he was because of Mam. And she knows now that we've got her back now. And that's what the community and family does. So, he used his dash very, very wisely. And we love him. We got lucky having him. And we miss him. Dad's going to be cremated at Darrowstown at 1 p.m. You're welcome to join us. And then we're going to go to Keely's right afterwards. And everybody's welcome to come with us. And then he's putting the slideshow together. It's really good distraction and brings a lot of tears to us. From our family to you guys, we really appreciate everything's attendance. So thank you.